Shifting gears, I looked up the YouTube channel you have, Steak and Butter Gal, and I saw you were talking to your father in China. And of all places in the world in the last 10 years, I taught a hospital, the Baoan Hospital in Shenzhen, and Jackie Eberstein, who worked with Dr. Atkins for 30 years. We were both invited to help the hospital learn about low carb and how to implement it. And I remember, what a long haul to travel there. But when I got onto the hospital ward, the dietitian comes down and he goes, "Oh, because he'd been watching all my YouTube channels, or YouTube. There weren't a whole lot at the time. I think the other places in China thought I might have been Eric Berg because at the time he had such, well, he still has massive popularity, but Shenzhen, what an interesting place, and they taught us or treated us, like royalty coming in, had a banner out front, welcome Dr. Westman and Jackie Eberstein. And so that said, I listened to your interview with your father, and I think it's wonderful. And yet I'm the critic at the. I mean, if I was going to allow a paper to be, so as a referee, we review papers and we make sure to get something peer reviewed, that there's certain information there. And so you were talking to your father about the cancers that he's had, and I wonder if the diagnosis was really there. And I don't mean to be anything other than supportive in these questions. I wonder how the diagnosis of the cancers were made, and then if there was any, because to live, I think it was 8 years with pancreatic cancer, it really kind of depends on how the diagnosis was, where it was, that sort of thing, because there was a recent paper on metastatic pancreatic cancer using a keto diet. And I mean, it didn't do much because at that stage, it's so late, it's hard to make that kind of change. There's another study going on with glioblastoma, which is a very difficult to treat brain cancer. And, it's not like an overnight cure. That's what I'm just trying to say. So to
Yes.
balance the hope and the promise of this approach, that I need to be just a little cautious on maybe there wasn't the proper diagnosis, or prove me wrong, please.
Yeah, well, from what I know, and my dad communicates with me mostly in Chinese, and I am able to communicate the way that I need to with Chinese, but I'm not fully fluent. But from what I know that he's told me, he caught the signs of the pancreatic cancer very early on, and the moment that he found out about it, he did the Whipple surgery.
I see. Okay,
Yes.
that makes sense. That
Yes.
so the Whipple is a very intensive operation that reroutes the intestines, and the idea is to surgically remove it. Yeah. Okay. Whipple. Um, uh, this makes sense. So the one reason I asked that is when I was at the hospital in Shenzhen, they diagnosed things and were active about things way before you would see action here in the US. So like someone had a little elevated blood sugar in the ER there and they hospitalized them. And I was kind of shocked. What the heck? We would give them, an insulin and tell them go home. And I'm afraid most doctors wouldn't say don't drink sugar in the drinks, which should have been said. But so I'm whenever we're looking at information, even around the country in the US, getting to make sure that the diagnosis and then having a Whipple, actually the Whipple procedure may have been curative by if they were able to get all of the cancer. Yeah. Okay. That's
I
awesome.
see. Yeah. So, well, I'm curious to know, are there many patients who, when they do the Whipple surgery, after it's done, the cancer reemerges or it has spread to other places?
Yeah, I will look up that percentage.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, if they're unable to get the whole tumor, for example, that there may be recurrence. So that would be the statistic to look up if a Whipple procedure for pancreatic cancer, what's the prognosis and what kind of recurrence happens. I'll bet it's also operator dependent, meaning the surgeon to surgeon, there would be a difference if he was at a uh, very good tertiary care, meaning the seeing the worst of the worst patients. Those doctors tend to be able to get better results. But
Yes.
that's great, and of course, wish you and him all the best. The cancer is the sort of fortress that it's hard to get up there and or even make a dent in it.
Totally understand. And I think with my dad, what he feels like was so effective post-surgery was most people who had that surgery, he tells me, need a very long recovery or they don't fully recover back to how they were before. But he feels like he's even stronger, even healthier, even more alive after the surgery because he adopted a ketogenic meat heavy diet. And he's also, every year he tests if there's any new cancer, and there's not. And so he feels like that's also his change in diet.
Great. Now, getting back to your community, then
Yeah.
what's the kind of classic? It's even probably old hat now of someone comes in and these things get better or resolved. What are you seeing?
Okay, so there's always some type of energy increase, right? So they're sleeping better, their energy is up, their mood is, uplifted and positive. They don't A lot of people will say they feel like this gray cloud over their life has shifted and cleared. And so they just feel happier and more motivated in general. The more like serious, impressive ones, pant sizes, like a lot of pant sizes down, uh, body is changing, right? And with the women, they're starting to see bloat going away, the waist getting slimmer, yet they're not losing fat in the places that they don't want to lose fat. And that's really awesome because maybe that's a sign that the hormones are functioning as well. We even get women coming in, thinking that they're in menopause, but their period comes back and they're not necessarily very happy, but
No, they're like,
interesting.
I've had a few.
Yes, exactly.
Uh,
A lot of people, their hair is growing back finally, or their hair has stopped falling finally. Um, a lot of people come in with skin issues, understandably, and the skin issues clear up. Cystic acne is clearing up. Autoimmune issues are clearing up. That one, we do see a lot of alignment with doing a lion diet. So, those with autoimmune healing needed, they do benefit greatly from a lion diet, which is just beef, salt, or ruminant meat, salt, water. And then, like you mentioned, diabetes reversal happens pretty much every single week in the community. And we are able to track this because we have a weekly NSV celebration call. So NSV stands for non-scale victory. We don't necessarily want to focus too much on that number on the scale. So we like to shift our focus on what other things are happening. And so I'm pretty confident to say like you can pick any chronic issue or illness, and there's at this point been someone who's been able to improve it or feel like they've been able to heal completely from it.
yeah, and the first time I heard of this kind of grassroots effects and then summary of this was from Craig and Maria Emmerich, who have their own kind of cookbook empire that they would be presenting at meetings. Here's what people write me about how they're feeling better, and so I could wait for the randomized controlled trial and the literature that comes up in PubMed and ignore all of this stuff, but I'm afraid I can't ignore it. And
Mm.
I actually wrote a course on the carnivore diet, and we have it for available at adapterlifeacademy.com for those people who want a deep dive. And what struck me is the science is you know the biochemistry, the physiology is very similar to a keto diet. I think the ketone metabolism, the lack of glucose, and meaning lack of carbohydrates and lack of gluten, other simple sugars, and all these other preservatives make it a relatively healthy approach, even compared to all the other things we could do. But one of the things that really struck me most was that the internal anatomy of a human is more like that of a carnivore. So that the stomach, the intestines, when you compare the human to, say, a gorilla, internally they're entirely different. So even though people say, "Oh, we're descended from gorillas, we should have leaves," no, the intestines are entirely different. So that was something that was persuasive for me. And then just the common sense, or it's called face validity. I finally met Anthony Chafee at a meeting in London recently. When you say, plants can't run away, so their defense mechanism is to put toxins into their leaves, so that
Yeah.
usual mammals will eat them and never eat them again. When, of course, humans self-administer horseradish and hot peppers over and over again. We're not normal mammals, but I think that made me kind of say, well, right. I mean, there are the neurotoxins, yeah, that would kind of make the animal not want to eat the leaf again, including humans. I mean, so when you step back, what's convinced you, other than your own personal experience, or other people must have been trying to dissuade you or tell you you're wrong? Why do you persist in teaching this?
Mm. Well, I've I think for me, the most eye-opening moments where I realize maybe Dr. Chafee is right about this whole plants are trying to kill you. I know he's making a bold statement, but there is a lot of truth in that, and I feel it when I have foods that have spices on it. Spices alone will give me a runny nose the next morning. When I eat out and I request for my steaks to be cooked in its own beef fat, but they bring it to me and it's clearly cooked in seed oils because I can taste it now. My taste buds are very, very acute now. The next day, my skin will break out in a rash. So I feel like every time I have little slivers of plants or seed oils and my body breaks out or it clearly shows symptoms that it is not happy and it is inflamed, proves to me very, very, very clearly that plants are trying to make me sick, or plants are not agreeing with me, or plants are trying to inflame me. Because when you live so clean on a carnivore diet for so long, any little bout of spices or seed oils, at least for me, do give me a very clear signal where I can feel it in my nose, and it's usually congestion and runny nose as that first symptom when I have spices. And then for seed oils, it's always an itchy rash in my chest area, and it's like red little rash-like bumps. It goes away after like 48 hours for both, but why would I choose to eat plants when eating those types of things already give me such strange symptoms? And I understand as well, like looking at the other side of it, that some people can tolerate and still thrive and be happy and live their best life eating some fruits and vegetables and just whatever they want, but with a lot of animal foods. And I see those testimonials and I see those real life accounts online all the time. I just realized that I'm not one of those people because every time I try to introduce them, I see what it causes in my body and in my skin. And
Well,
yeah,
so that's fantastic, because these personal experiences matter, and I think they generalize beyond. But maybe most people are numb to it, or can't make the connection because they have congestion and little rashes all the time. Right? They're yeah. So taking away,
Agr
sort of going out into a very quiet area for a while, you're able to hear better. So it's kind of a weird metaphor, but um,
it's so
so
true.
uh, Dr. Chafee, a pretty impressive guy. He was a former professional rugby player and super smart, and he gave one of the talks, led one of the sessions at the Public Health Collaboration of the UK in London. There, I also saw some research by Professor Isabella Cooper, where they looked at women who had done keto for, on average, I think 5 years, and they were all about 35, and they looked, which was uh, an unusual study, because normally you take people on an American diet, put them on keto, and then see what, no, these people are already doing a keto diet. And she explained that many of them didn't really ever want to eat carbs again, but they did it for science, they'll sacrifice their body. So the parameters they were looking at all kind of look bad after 3 weeks of eating the standard UK guideline, and then they went back to eating keto. And she used for the first time a term we've tried to use, haven't put it in a paper yet, called euketonemia, meaning normal ketones in the blood, as opposed to ketosis, which osis means the abnormal condition of. And so the studies actually look at longevity markers, and it's starting to, I would say the young scientists are looking at this in a great new way. It's not just, let's use this as a therapy and then, oh my gosh, stay away from it. It's more, what if people would eat this way, all the time? Maybe this would be healthier and people would live longer. I mean, do you have any concern about doing this for a long period of time? And, or has anyone else had trouble? And on this recent podcast with People's Pharmacy, they asked, well, there has to be something bad about this. I mean, people say drugs are great, there are no side effects, and they always have side effects. I mean, so, but maybe this is one of the best ways to eat. I don't know.
I Yeah, I guess we won't know until, we experience it ourselves, and so my answer is, when I'm asked, "Do I think this is healthy or sustainable long term?" My answer is absolutely yes, and I base it off of my own experience because I'm almost 7 years in, like, just over 6.5 years now, and I can confidently say that the benefits that I have experienced are better and better and better with every year that I stick to it. So, my energy now is so amazingly high, like, I just feel like when I wake up in the morning, I wanna do stuff. I wanna achieve stuff. I wanna get my to-do list done because I have the energy and the motivation for it. I think that requires really, really good optimal health, and it also requires really fantastic, pristine mental health to want to keep doing difficult things, and I find joy in doing that now. Whereas before, when I was on a vegan diet, and I love that I have these 2 lives that I can compare because one is on plants, one is on meat. When I was on vegan diet, it took a lot of willpower to do anything even remotely
Mm.
difficult, you know? And so to live these 2 lives based on 2 different fuels and just see how effortless it is now to do things that I've always wanted to get done, how can this diet to me feel like it's not forever? I wanna do
Mm.
it forever, only because I feel better and better. So, yeah.
Are you still tickling the ivories?
Yes, absolutely. Now it's for fun. Now I can just enjoy it as a hobby. It's not like this dooming, "Oh my gosh, I need to make it into a career." I really like that I'm in this position where I can just truly enjoy piano for what it is, which is this amazing spiritual experience. And so when I sit down at the piano, I try my best to film it and share it online. But sometimes the most magical moments are when I'm alone with my piano and I'm just in it. I'm just in the music. I highly recommend for everyone to listen to classical music and even better yet, take some piano lessons.
What's your favorite piece or pieces to play?
My favorite composer is Beethoven. I just connect with Beethoven so much. His piano sonatas are truly the most incredible experience to learn and perform and play. Yeah, Beethoven.
I was, a few years back, realizing I didn't practice enough piano, and so I came up with the idea that at work, if someone gets a certain milestone I would make up the excuse to play a song, and it kind of morphed into this. People choose a song, and so I have this little spin-it out in the waiting room. It's also a way to see if someone has powers of observation. I'll say, "Did you notice that piano in the waiting room?" Most people know they don't expect it to be there, right? And so I'll ask them to choose their favorite song. You get the lead sheet, fake book thing off, or even music notes will give you for a fee the written out notes. And I'm
Right.
a Chopin etude. I can do two of them level of, and some of those Beethoven sonata middle sections are just unbelievably gorgeous. But the most fun I've had is when the patient there, starts singing a song they hadn't sung. One was a former opera singer. She'd lost 50 pounds and just belted out this. So music is a way to connect people, and so I found
Exactly.
that having them choose the song, and then my dexterity is not the greatest, but I learned that I could fake it with a fake book or a lead sheet. So that but my staff now, many of the nurse and the radiology tech, they come and join the backup, choir sort of thing. One person even said, "I don't want to lose any more weight." I said, "Why?" He said, I don't want to sing a song when I get to." No, you don't sing it. We sing it for you." So anyway, not everyone thinks not everyone thinks music is great. Some are, definitely afraid of it, but I think maybe that avocation or not, the training is a very experiential sort of. You had to learn about the connection,
Yeah,
one on one with an instrument. I think it could apply to any kind of instrument, and I think that's really neat. And then applying that and with the same level of observation of your own experience, and then sharing it. You have to, right? Music by itself, sure, those moments, but it's a public sort of thing, right?
I agree. That's such a great observation alone. And uh, I actually, when I reflect back to my years at Juilliard, even though half of it was online, I think the skills that I acquired through that type of education, I to this day, in every aspect of my life, I am practicing. So, the discipline, the ability to just sit still and observe and not always be, doing or speaking or talking or filling the air. The ability to just reflect all the time and be so uh go inside and learn what's on the inside rather than always being affected by the noise. I think so many skills that I practice today are actually from when I was training to be a pianist. So that's very true what you
Life,
said there.
life lessons. Yeah.
Life lesson.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and hope I reserve the right to call you back and talk to you again, if that's okay.
I would love that. And I would love to have you on my channel if that's okay.
Absolutely. And just to reiterate for those who may have caught you in middle way, how do they find you?
Yes. So Steak and Butter Gal, GAL, on all socials, and you can check out my content on all platforms. Thank you.
Thanks again. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye. If you enjoyed this video, consider joining our YouTube membership for early access and exclusive live Q&As with me. Just click the join button below or support us with a PayPal in the description.